warroomsports.com. Get that mobile app.
What's up, good people out there, and welcome to another edition of Inside the War Room, brought to you, of course, by War Room Sports. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Devin McMillan, and I'm here at the round table this evening with my brothers. We got B. Austin of War Room Sports.
Hey, how you doing, plus-size ladies?
We got Jimmy of War Room Sports.
I got nothing to say, man. Let's go.
All right, and we got a special guest with us tonight. We have Shadow League columnist Rob Parker. Rob, what's going on, bro? We heard you doing some more things in Detroit these days.
Yes, I got my radio show back. It's called Sports Night with Parker and the Man. It starts up again on March 24th. And Mark Wilson and I, we did the show for 10 years on a couple different stations. So we're going back to the original station, WDFN, and we're going to restart the show, reboot it. So I'm kind of excited about that. Got a couple other projects in the works, but I'm pretty busy.
Shout out to WDFN for getting the homie back.
All right, no doubt, no doubt. Glad to have you with us. We're going to talk about three topics. We're going to make it as quick as possible. We know you guys don't like to sit in front of the computer for too long. So we're going to start in New York. The New York Knicks, reportedly are going to have one of their hometown sons, and I say that because Phil Jackson, of course, used to play for the Knicks back in the day. He's reportedly coming to the Knicks to run their basketball operations. Fellas, opinions on this. Rob, we'll actually start with you. What are your opinions?
I'm going to say it's a pure money grab by Phil Jackson. I mean, I don't blame Phil. If you could get 3 paychecks, your pension, your Social Security, and a check from the Knicks, why not if they're willing to pay you? Please show me the team that Phil Jackson put together to win a championship. I'm sorry. He was a great coach. He had great players, but I don't know where this architect to being a guy. I get the Knicks. They're desperate. They haven't won since 1973, since Phil Jackson played on the team. I get all that. He's a big name. New York loves big names, but I don't see where Phil Jackson's ever built a team. I don't see it.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually one of the sentiments that I had when I heard, when the story first started, because we do know that Phil Jackson is a great coach, but like Rob said, when has he ever put together a team? I mean, I know a lot of his Chicago teams, and when he started with the Lakers, they always had his signature on it, the 2 big guards, and, until Derek Fisher started to get more minutes in the starting lineup later on in his career. But besides, putting his stamp into a lineup, I've never myself seen Phil Jackson build a team, or I haven't heard that he was a part of, the architecture of any of those teams as well. Jimmy, what do you think?
No, I was going to say, listen, bottom line is I can't knock the hustle. Like Rob said, listen, if they're willing to pay him, I would take the money as well. And if you look at his situations, he's always had a GM that's built the team. I think he does have value, but as a coach, I don't know what his value is in this capacity. But, at the end of the day, sometimes teams in New York just like to remain relevant, whether that means winning or not. And by bringing Phil Jackson, and he is a big name, and they will make the news. I don't see it. I don't know what is he going to do. Like, I mean, maybe he can show and prove. We'll see.
Yeah, be off.
Couple things. Shout out to James Doolin, Daniel Snyder, and my man Jerry's World down there in Texas, because they will pay you a check if your name is big enough, regardless of what you're doing. So we saw it with Isaiah. We're now seeing it with Phil. I don't think Phil will allow his legacy to be totally tarnished. So he's going to probably do what's necessary to surround him. Hopefully he follows Henry Ford's model and surrounds him with folks that are smarter than him. Shout out to Tex Winners in that triangle. So that's kind of what I see Phil doing. But yeah, why not get a check? It's going to be an astronomical figure to do this job, whatever it is. I don't know the numbers yet. They haven't been revealed, but he's going to get a nice size.
All right, so here's a question I have for you guys. Do you think that eventually can this potentially lead to Phil Jackson being on the bench in New York again? Not again in New York, but
I got a real simple answer. No way, no how. He's not coaching, because Phil Jackson, when there was talk about him going back to the Lakers, he even talked about how he couldn't do the road trips. So what coach can you have where he can't travel? Remember, Phil Jackson's in pain, could barely get around. I'm sure they had to negotiate how many days he actually has to come to New York. he doesn't even want to come to New York to do the job. I mean, so how in the world can you coach?
Yeah, this is true, I agree. I agree. Plus, when you look at the team, they're in bad shape. So I want to see what he's going to do. Is this just a publicity stunt? I mean, because what can he do with that roster the way they currently have it? I mean, and now you're talking about he's not even want to come to New York. I just don't know what's going to happen here.
Hashtag more mediocrity. Is this a play to keep Melo? Guys, is this what this is about? Do you think he can relate?
It might make Melo leave.
All right, so I mean, it's not much more we can say on that. Rob thinks it's a money grab. Jimmy thinks it could possibly be a publicity stunt. P. Austin thinks that it could be a ploy to keep Melo, and I don't know what the hell I think it is. So let's move on to the next topics. I mean, these last two topics are things that have been in the news recently, but you guys know every time we have a guest on either our podcast or here on Inside the War Room, we want to get their opinions on this because these are two big stories that aren't going anywhere anytime soon. So, Rob, we want to ask you first, since you're the guest tonight, do you think, with the announcement of Michael Sam about a few weeks back, do you think the NFL is ready for an openly gay player?
First of all, there are already gay players in the NFL and have been for years. So this whole notion is ridiculous. I mean, and I'm not Michael Sam. I respect and his courage and for him to be able to live his life, and I don't blame him for rather telling people the news rather than having somebody come out and out him or try to damage him and put it out there rather than him putting it out there. So I respect that by Michael Sam. I think players will. I mean, we saw what happened at Missouri. All the team knew for a whole year, and they played real well and excelled. It's like anything else. It's a workplace. If somebody does stuff that's not appropriate, then they'll be disciplined and they'll be sent away. So, and if you don't want, as a guy, this, if you don't want to be seen, you don't have to be seen. Go take a shower, you put a towel on. It's real simple. So I don't believe that that's an issue. And this whole notion, I believe he's good enough player that somebody will take him and he'll play in the NFL.
Okay, yeah, I mean, my sentiments on that, and it seems like from everything we've heard from players who've spoken on it, they're saying things along the same lines. If he can play, then that part speaks for itself. It doesn't matter. But what I have heard some players talk about is the culture in the locker room. Like, will the players continue to be themselves, whatever that means? Whatever they talk about out loud in the locker room, women or whatever. Like, will people try to change their attitude if he's around? I mean, that could be out of respect. It may not be a bad thing, but out of respect for him or out of them just not knowing how to treat the situation, people might act a little differently. What do you guys think?
I think that the momentum in society and culture in general has completely shifted. There are a lot of people with an agenda, and I think that in years to come, we're going to look at this and laugh, the way this has become a story. Like this, because to me, there really is no story here. But as of right now, it seems as though there is a story. So I think in years to come, we'll be laughing at this. If he can play, he can play. It's just that simple.
Yeah. I'm still I still really can't say that it's not a story because the gay and lesbian community, this is big for them. You know what I'm saying? I don't like when they compare it to the civil rights movement. But for them, this may be their Jackie Robinson.
But here's the thing, though. They do a masterful job in terms of pushing their agenda.
I want to jump in. I don't know why people take offense to civil rights if it's about treating people fairly. I don't understand how you would say you don't understand how you could treat. It's the same thing, whether you're black or you're gay or you're this or you're crippled or handicapped. To me, it's the same thing. It's about being treated fairly. Yeah. So if they look at this and say, hey, finally somebody's out there. I mean, this is what I look at. How in the world, if you go to the NBA and see what happened with the Nets and that situation, and then you look and see he has the highest selling jersey in the NBA on NBA.com, somebody obviously cares, and somebody's out there buying jerseys. Mm-hmm. And it is about equality. That's all it's about. It's nothing bigger than the civil rights, less than the civil rights. It's just about, to me, equality. And that's everybody has to be treated the same way, whether we like it or not, whether we agree with it or not. People kill me with this whole notion of what sin is worse than another sin. Sin is sin. If you believe in sin, then I got it. You know what I mean?
But let me explain what I mean. Because I agree with the whole, like I just told Jimmy, I think it is a story because this is their fight, and we don't want to diminish their fight.
No, I was saying in the future. In the future, they're going to look back and say, like, you know.
No, but I want to explain why I do agree with the notion that, you know, I think it's their struggle. But the reason I say you can't equate it is because of kind of what you just said earlier, Rob. There were already gay people in the NFL. You couldn't hide being black. So it was it's kind of two different things, but I do understand their struggle. You can't hide being black. There were no black guys hiding in professional sports when we weren't allowed to be in.
No, but what you're missing is they weren't allowed to play. They weren't allowed to play because they were black. They were kept out of baseball till 1947. So
yeah,
it wasn't about. It wasn't
that's
about
why I'm saying you can't. That's why I use the word equate because
there's no
rule saying that gay people can't play. It's
no,
just
but if they had come out and said they were gay back in 1955, they wouldn't have been on the team. You got to admit that. Now, would you not admit that?
No, I get it, Rob. You're right, but I think that you can lie about, you can hide, you can stay in the closet. You can't stay in the closet being black. I think that's what he's trying to say. Like,
it's definitely to me two different things because I come from the perspective where sexuality has no place in the workplace, and that's how I feel about the locker room. And so I'm kind of like, okay. If we're functioning under the premise that what you do in your bedroom has no bearing on what you do on the field or in this locker room, okay, that's where it should be. But me being black, I have no choice in that matter. I was born this way. You look at me, bleaching cream will not work. I'm black. Mm-hmm.
You know, but the only thing is, when I talk to people, they say that that's the same issue that they have. They were born that way, and whether people want them to go marry a female or what, they can't do it because that's not how they were wired or born. Mm-hmm. So I think it's the same. They say the same thing that you say. You were born black. They say I was born gay, and hey, I can't do anything about it. And the reason that I think that we get into this thing where people are coming out now is that people of society we live in. People are the ones who are outing people and coming out and telling people their business in the bedroom, so they feel compelled to have to say it before somebody else does. That's how I see it.
No, Rob, we have this. Right? Like we have this notion. We have this notion that it's kind of that all gay men act a certain way or are effeminate. That's not necessarily the case. So how you move around your day, I can't look at you and say you're gay unless you are overly pronounced and trying to show the world that you are. But there are plenty of folks that just lead a normal life and walk around with normal people. There's no change in behavior because of their sexuality. And so even with Michael Sam, I don't think there's a clear, definitive thing in his behavior that says, oh, yeah, he's gay. I mean, he's a normal dude. But that's our notion. That's what we see as being gay. So as a black man, there's no behavior that comes with being black. It's my skin color. It's.
But Beyonce, you know this because we talked about this, you know, ad nauseum. I do think, though, I don't agree with the notion that sexuality, like what I was saying earlier. I mean, conversations abound in the locker room. You know, you can see through Richie Incognito and Jonathan Martin's tweets that, you know, sexuality plays a big part in the relationship between these guys who play on teams together. So, you know, I can't fully say that sexuality has no place in the locker room because those dudes are talking about that kind of stuff. So, I don't know.
I mean,
it's we'll see how they react to it. I think everything will be fine. I mean, America's been ready. Sports, you know, as Rob alluded to, people have already been there, whether, you know, their teammates knew or not. It's just something else that people are just going to have to adjust to. And I fully agree with the notion that people, because of today's society, you do have to come out. Because, like he said, you know, if you don't do it, then other people are going to be out there telling your business. It's just not, it's a different type of thing. So
why can't Kerry Rhodes get a job? Never mind.
I'm not touching
Nah,
that.
I'm not touching that.
Well, I mean, also Kerry Rhodes is a player who's been in the league for a while, and there's, you know what I mean. I just think that as an older player, a guy who's already played in the league for a while, there's a lot of Kerry Rhodes out there who have no issue with that. You know what I mean? Who still aren't playing and played 6 years. The average career is 3.5 years in the NFL. So there's a lot of guys out there who still think they could play who didn't get a chance to play.
Yeah,
Plaxico,
but Rob,
right?
he came off of one of his best seasons and was darn near all pro, and then just couldn't get a job all of a sudden. So at 28, I could chalk it up to the tread on the tires being worn down, but nah, I think he had some tread on the tires. I'm curious as to why he doesn't have a job. He was a top 5 at his position and couldn't get a job.
All I'm going to tell you is there's plenty of guys like that. Look around. I know you can look at that and point at him, but there are plenty of guys who still thought they could play, who didn't get opportunities to play. And you can talk about whatever you want, and I respect what your opinion, but I still believe that I'm not saying that they didn't hurt him, just his situation of how he did his business and his public stuff. I agree with you there, but I just think if you still had something to contribute to a team and you could play, there would be a chance that somebody would take a chance on you. That's all.
Because at the end of the day, it's all about winning. So I guess what you're saying is if somebody feels that you can contribute to them winning, they'll look past a lot of things.
I mean, in the early days of Major League Baseball, there was a lot of great black players and teams. I mean, I look at the Tigers and the Red Sox. They went 10 years after Jackie Robinson came into the big leagues before they had their first black player. 10 years. And you know what? They didn't win. Those teams, they didn't want to win. And then after a while, they had to cave in because they weren't winning.
Yeah. It is true.
No doubt. Well, we know this story is actually going to heat up in the coming weeks as the draft comes around and, as OTAs and training camp and everything starts. They're going to dig into this as deeply as they can, and we're going to hear more, so we'll probably revisit it at that time. Last thing I want to talk about, gentlemen, another story that we've talked about several times with different people. I want to get Rob's take on this. We all know that the NFL is trying all they can to, quote-unquote, abolish the N-word. They're proposing a rule which would penalize players 15 yards if they're heard saying the N-word on the field for a first offense, and then ejections for offenses to follow that. Can this be legislated out of the game, Rob?
No, this is a total waste of time. Once again, the commissioner is in the wrong place. He has his heart in the right place, but this is a dumb rule. The NFL should not be involved in this whatsoever. I think it's totally stupid. And you know what I wish would happen? I wish that every player from every team would walk out there on the first day of the first game of the season and all the black players say the N-word, and then say it twice, and let them all get ejected, and then see what the commissioner could do. That would put an end to it. All the games would be forfeited, right? And they couldn't play. And then what would be the commissioner's next move? That's what I wish the players would do. That's the column I'm going to write before the season starts. They should organize it, okay? And then ask the commissioner when they have to cancel games, give people back their money, tell them to stop. This is not a situation the NFL should be involved in, period.
I think Rob is shooting the right gun at the right target.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, no, I agree.
Rob, this has been my sentiment. Yeah.
Go ahead, Dave.
This has been my sentiment for the past few weeks. This is how I've thought about it, and I'm not generally a conspiracy theorist, but if you're gonna legislate against the N-word in football, Rob, you mentioned the commissioner having his heart in the right place. For me, I kind of think that's a smokescreen. I think they want us to think that their heart is in the right place. Us as black men are thinking, okay, they're trying to do something about that nasty word. But who else is going to get punished for this? Who says it the most? I think black players are the ones on the field saying this word the most. So while you're appearing that you want to protect black people and their feelings, black people are going to be the ones being punished for saying the N-word out on the football field.
But wait a minute. If the commissioner was so
the culture 100%.
If the commissioner was so concerned, how did Riley Cooper didn't get suspended by the NFL? Oh, now you want to suspend players? Hello.
Well, My problem is you're trying to legislate.
They're gonna get.
Meanwhile,
it wasn't on the field.
Meanwhile, the team in D.C. is called the Redskins, and I mean, like, but you want to abolish the N-word. I think my thing was this though. When I thought about this, I said maybe it's because they want to, for their consumer, they want to put more microphones and cameras on the field, and they don't want to pick it up them, the way they talk to each other. That's what I thought of. But I just think it's stupid. These guys are playing a gladiator sport. They're in the heat of the moment. I mean, we've played sports, and some of the stuff that we say to each other when you're in competition, it is what it is. But
it's not for microphones.
Yeah, it's not for microphones, exactly. But my thing is, how are you going to do this? Meanwhile, you have a team called the Redskins. You're doing nothing about that. That's my problem right there.
Yeah. But to me, I mean, as we know, and private. Maybe even around black guys. Maybe some of the white guys do it. We have the Richie Incognito story to point to again. But I just don't see a lot of white guys, going out on the field and openly saying that word in front of black people. So I'm just thinking, like, who are you really punishing?
You're singling out 72% of the NFL for the use of a word that is basically within their community. It's an ugly word. But I have questions pretty much along the lines of where both of you are going, Rob and Dev. One of my questions is, why was the N-word the only word that received focus? If you're going to abolish negative language and demeaning language, why single out one word? Why not?
Right, he could have said every word. He could have said if an Italian player called an Italian player a certain name, or Hispanic, or whatever you want to do. But see, this is what bothers me. Just like David Stern's clothing dress code thing, the same thing. It was about clothes that black people wore. All of a sudden became some bad thing. And I always say, no other sport did that. Baseball players, hockey players, football. But David Stern, for him to do that was outrageous. And this is even more outrageous. But the union is so weak in the NFL. It's disgraceful how weak they are. I mean, it is. The union chief should have stuck up and said, "We're not going for this. Worry about football. How about lowering ticket prices? How about lifting the blackout from games? How about worrying about that stuff and let us handle the other stuff?" And that's what they should have done. And the union chief, of course, was just let Roger Goodell do whatever he wants, and it's dumb. I'm sorry. It's one of the dumbest things I've ever seen.
Rob, I think there's an agenda. I think that there's another specific word and another specific community that they want to protect and cater to. And I think that they're starting with the word nigger. And really there's another word for another group that Michael Sam may represent that they really want to target and abolish, but they want to start at that word. That's my belief.
And what word is that? I mean, I don't guess in riddles. What word is that?
Are you saying the F word, as they call it? Is that what you're saying, B. Austin?
What word is it?
Maggot, with take the M out and put an F. I think that word is what they're really.
So why not start?
We've already seen the NBA fine if somebody does that in public, but not on the court. If you go out in the stands and you're using words like that, you should be fined because you represent the league. I agree with that, but I don't agree with if I'm talking to my buddy in the heat of battle on the field. I'm sorry, and you talk about them recording and all that. They've always had curse words and stuff. You know what they do? They bleep it out. Bleep it out. So if you don't want that word to be on, just bleep it. And if you have to go with 100 bleeps per game, then you go with 100 bleeps per game.
Yo, they want these guys to literally play this tough sport and pick each other up and say, "Hey, good fellow," what are you supposed to do? They're playing football. They're trying to take each other's heads off. Like, seriously.
For 16, 17 years, they've had to bleep out every time Kevin Garnett's face was in the camera. So
absolutely.
Yeah, they can just continue to do that. But that's a good point you made, B. Austin. And we're going to leave it at that. And, like we always tell you guys out there, watch the video. Subscribe to the page first. Click that subscribe button. Then you'll know whenever we have a video drop. When we have a special guest like Rob Parker on with us. Make sure you like the video. Show your appreciation. And leave your comments in the comment section. If you agree with what we're saying, if you disagree with what we're saying, leave it in the comment section. we'll engage you in dialogue and tell you why you're wrong. But anyway, this has been another edition of Inside the War Room. Of course, for the War Room Sports Crew, B. Austin and Jimmy, I'm Devin. This is Rob Parker from ShadowLeague.com. Make sure you go there and check out his writings. And Rob, one more time, you want to let them know how they can listen to your radio show when it starts?
Yes, you could go to WDFN.com. Our show is Sports Night with Parker and the Man, 7 p.m. till 10 p.m., Monday through Friday, starting March 24th. WDFN.com and iHeartRadio. You can listen and listen to the show.
All right, no doubt. And of course, some of our fans and listeners out there told us to let you know that they, a lot of them miss you on First Take. So, you got a lot of support out there. But like we always tell you guys, don't accept mediocrity and be steadfast in the war against ignorance.
See you chumps on top.
We'll holler.
Kuwait is the war room with 5 nights at the round table. 5 Philly guys diversified and educated.